future challenges in the post-pandemic era, the country's management needs to have a plan that covers various sectors and aspects of life.
Pada masa yang sama, rakyat Beta turut berperanan dalam mendukung usaha-usaha murni kerajaan di samping terus berusaha untuk mendepani sebarang cabaran. Natijahnya, pemilihan negara memerlukan simbiosis yang erat antara kerajaan dan rakyat Beta.
Sultan Abdullah said this in his royal address in conjunction with His Majesty's official birthday celebration on Monday, which was broadcast live on local television on Sunday night. The King also pointed out that unity and togetherness in a society with diverse backgrounds is actually a recipe and strength in shaping national aspirations, as well as a pillar of the nation's prosperity, peace and stability. Sultan Abdullah added that the economic sector and the people's daily lives have also seen a recovery since the reopening of the country's borders on April 1st. He was also thankful that the improving COVID-19 situation has allowed the people to again enjoy their daily routines, which were adversely affected by the pandemic. Following this, His Majesty calls on Malaysians to work together in close unity towards building a glorious Malaysia, as the country's desired recovery and revival were unlikely to become a reality if the people were divided and failed to create a landscape of stability. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Sunday said he cannot get ahead of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong by announcing the date for the 15th general election GE15. The Prime Minister said he could only advise the King, who has the prerogative of dissolving Parliament, to pave the way for the polls.
Yang di-Pertuan Agong boleh menolak kalau tidak setuju. Jadi saya tak boleh katakan exact date sebab itu telah pun saya mengambil alih kuasa di-Pertuan Agong. Itu salah. Salah dari segi perlembagaan kalau saya tetapkan tarikh dia. Sebab kuasa penentu adalah Yang di-Pertuan Agong dalam perlembagaan.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri pointed out that none of the previous Prime Ministers have openly announced the date of elections. He was commenting on DAP Secretary General Anthony Loke, who asked for the Premier to be more assertive and consistent in his stance, instead of giving quote-unquote flip-flop statements regarding the date of GE15. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also reiterated that matters pertaining to GE15 will be discussed with UMNO's top leadership and then Barisan National Supreme Council before being brought to the Cabinet and subsequently for the Yang di-Pertuan Agong's consideration. The government is still studying whether or not to reintroduce the Goods and Services Tax, GST, and has not made a decision on it yet. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob stressed that there had been no announcement from him on re-implementing GST in the near future, but merely said that he was looking into the possibility.
Ramai orang terus melompat bila saya kata tidak menolak kemungkinan. Tetapi saya kata perlu dikaji. Kita perlu kaji buruk dan baik. Ya. Bukan saya umumkan akan melaksanakan GST. Saya kata kita akan buat kajian. Sebab kajian hari ini kekurangan pendapatan salah satunya apabila kita migrate daripada GST kepada SST. Dan kita kekurangan pendapatan sebanyak 30 bilion ringgit setahun. Kerana berpindah daripada GST kepada SST.
Speaking to the media after launching the World Environment Day celebration at Taman Tugu on Sunday, the Prime Minister added that it was important for the people to be properly informed of any new taxation system that the government plans to introduce. Recently, in a special interview with Nikkei Asia in Tokyo, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri had said that the GST was seen as capable of widening the country's revenue base and that the government was not ruling out the possibility of reinstating it as an effective way to increase national income and help combat inflation and the rising cost of living. In another development, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri wants environmental violations to be addressed with stricter laws. The Prime Minister said such laws need to be expedited to prevent incidents that could lead to environmental destruction.
InsyaAllah saya akan dapatkan besok hari Rabu Kabinet nanti saya akan tekankan bahawa undang-undang alam sekitar ini perlu disegerakan. Sebab kita tahu banyak pencerobohan dan sebagainya berlaku. Macam di sini dulu dipahamkan adalah tempat pembuangan sampah haram. Ya, di sini. Yang sepatutnya kawasan hutan hujan ini dijaga dengan baik. Tetapi dijadikan tempat pembuangan sampah.
Aside from this, he said the people must continue to look after the environment as the world was currently experiencing climate change and the effects had already been felt. In his speech earlier, in conjunction with the event themed Only One Earth, the Premier pointed out that the government's action plan and mitigation efforts to address climate change include increasing the share of renewable energy capacity to 31% and a recycling rate of 40% by 2025, besides maintaining at least 50% of the country's forest cover. To boost the country's green agenda, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said the government also aims to achieve a carbon-neutral nation status through the 12th Malaysia Plan and the Sustainable Malaysia 2030 target. The country's commitment through zero or low carbon investment and green technology is expected to attract investors to make Malaysia a green investment hub destination. All public and private agencies in Malaysia are urged to become active participants in climate and biodiversity talks. Regent of Pahang, Tengku Hassan Al Ibrahim Alam Shah Al Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah said they should also support key initiatives such as proposals to protect and preserve at least 30% of land and oceans by 2030. In a statement in conjunction with World Environment Day on Sunday, Tengku Hassanal said Malaysia must endeavour to make successful the big visionary plan, namely the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework that is being discussed in the Convention on Biological Diversity for approval at the United Nations UN Biodiversity Conference COP15 in China. He added Malaysia's participation in achieving this target can highlight togetherness with the whole world in tackling the issue. Even more so, Malaysia is one of the 17 mega-diversity countries in the world, which are recognized for being rich in flora and fauna. Tengku Hassanal also said efforts to preserve the environment required the involvement of all Malaysians, and the aspiration must be interpreted to become a reality for the sake of future generations. He also expressed his gratitude for the action taken by the Pahang government, which had gazetted the expansion of the Chini Forest Reserve on August 5th, 2021 to 6,502.8 hectares from 4,600 hectares. The expansion can directly protect the flora and fauna as well as to ensure the lives of the orang asli in the area are not threatened.
Perjalanan berliku dalam mencipta kejutan. Kelayakan akhir Piala Asia 2023 hanya di TV9 dan Astro 149.
The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, KPDN-HEP, said the supply of wheat flour in the country is stable and sufficient. Its Deputy Minister, Datuk Rosul Wahid, said, however, for subsidised wheat flour, its production had to be reduced in the market due to the price spike at the global level. According to Datuk Rosul, the people should not panic because the supply of basic food in the market thus far was sufficient, but there was a slight increase in prices of between 10 to 30%. He added that traders will also not be affected by the reduction of subsidised wheat flour supply. According to several news reports, there was already a hike in the price of wheat flour, as well as a shortage of supply at retail outlets. It was also reported that a total of 2,200 KPDN-HEP enforcement personnel would be monitoring to ensure the supply of subsidised and non-subsidised flour is stable in the market. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah on Sunday congratulated Queen Elizabeth II on her Platinum Jubilee celebration, which began last Thursday. The celebration was held to mark the 70th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II being on the British throne. In a post on the official Istana Negara Facebook page, Al Sultan Abdullah expressed his happiness because Queen Elizabeth II has been blessed with good health and a long, healthy life, making her the longest reigning monarch in British history. The King also described Queen Elizabeth II as a ruler who cares about the welfare of the people and dedicated to serving the people in Britain and the Commonwealth. Al Sultan Abdullah also expressed hope that the existing close bilateral relations between Malaysia and Britain will continue to be enhanced, especially in the fields of economy, trade and investment. with news from the foreign front. At least 49 people died and hundreds more were injured after a massive fire swept through an inland container depot in southeastern Bangladesh. Authorities said the death toll was expected to rise, with some of the more than 300 people injured reported to be in serious condition. There was also reports of more bodies inside the smouldering wreckage-strewn facility. Those killed include 8 firefighters deployed to the site, with 4 others still missing. The fire broke out late on Saturday at the Sitakunda depot, which stores around 4,000 containers, triggering a huge blast and multiple container explosions. Firefighters were still scrambling to put out the fire on Sunday, as chemical-filled containers were still exploding. So far, there was no word on the cause of the blaze, but officials suspected it may have originated from a container of hydrogen peroxide. Over in the United States, 3 people were killed and 11 others were wounded late on Saturday after multiple shooters opened fire into a crowd in the city of Philadelphia. Police said during the incident, 2 men and a woman were killed, and responding officer managed to fire at one of the shooters, who dropped his gun and fled, though it was unclear whether the man was hit. No arrests had been made, but 2 semi-automatic handguns, with one with an extended magazine, were recovered at the scene. The nighttime barrage marked the latest mass shooting to jolt the U.S., a country in the grips of a gun violence epidemic that shows no signs of abating, even as lawmakers scramble for ways to reduce the carnage that has already claimed several thousand American lives this year. North Korea has fired 8 short-range ballistic missiles towards the sea off its east coast on Sunday, a day after the U.S. and South Korea wrapped up their first combined military exercises involving an American aircraft carrier in more than 4 years. According to South Korean defense officials, the missiles were fired from the Sunan area of Pyongyang and 3 other locations. The missiles, which were all launched within a 37-minute period, flew from 109 to 670 kilometers. So far, North Korea has conducted 18 weapon tests this year, involving dozens of missiles, more tests than in 2020 and 2021 combined, prompting Seoul to sternly urge Pyongyang to stop serious provocations that harm peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. South Korea's new president, Yoon Suk-yeol, has promised to strengthen military cooperation with the U.S., citing the threat of the North's expanding weapons program. Quartararo wins Catalonia MotoGP. Sports coming up next. With sports, France's world champion Fabio Quartararo extended his lead in the season's title race after winning the Catalonia MotoGP on Sunday, helped by an astonishing error by his closest pursuer, Alex Espargaro. The Frenchman's joy contrasted starkly to Aprilia rider Espargaro, who had a nightmare of a race from start to finish. Having started on pole, he was passed by Quartararo on the first bend, a lead the 23-year-old Frenchman would never relinquish. And then, as the race reached its climax, he raised raised his arms, thinking he had finished second, only to realise there was still a lap to go. His misfortune allowed compatriot Jorge Martin to take second, with his Ducati Pramac teammate Frenchman Johan Zarco taking third. Quartararo increased his lead from 8 points to 22 after 9 rounds of the championship. Ott Tanak ended his long search for another FIA World Rally Championship victory with a convincing win at Rally Italia Sardinia on Sunday afternoon. The Hyundai Motorsport driver was in dominant form on the Mediterranean island's punishing rock-strewn roads and brought his hybrid-powered i20N Rally 1 car home 1 minute and 3.2 seconds clear of M Sport Ford driver Craig Breen. Tanak's win at the championship's 5th round was certainly long awaited. The last time he stood at the top of the step of the podium was at Arctic Rally Finland, powered by Capital Box in 2021, which was 462 days ago. After the break, man held for allegedly killing mum, cutting body into 15 parts. Don't go away. With us on Nightline. Traffic congestion, especially on Klang Valley roads, has worsened substantially compared to 2019 before the COVID-19 pandemic, even more so during peak hours. Many have attributed the traffic jams, which are occurring regardless of time and weather conditions, to a surge of private vehicles plying the roads. What is being done to address this problem? Alif Yunus reports.
Heavy traffic in the Klang Valley appears to have become worse than pre-pandemic levels as more people return to their office. Is this situation attributed to the reluctance of people to use public transport? According to a traffic index data on urban congestion in over 400 cities worldwide, the average congestion in Kuala Lumpur was much higher over the past 7 days, peaking at 110% compared to 99% during the same pre-pandemic period 3 years ago. This has led to increased travel time, which could result in not just productivity loss, but also more stress for motorists on the roads.
Saya rasa compare sebelum pada fasa COVID yang sebelum ni, berpunca daripada peningkatan jumlah kenderaan atas jalan raya lah, yang mungkin juga disebabkan oleh penggunaan kenderaan itu sendiri oleh masyarakat awam, di mana kita tak cuba hadkan kenderaan atas jalan dengan kepentingan kita keluar.
Some road users also link the traffic congestion with the freedom of movement following the transition to endemic phase, as well as the festive holidays and school break, while others claim that it was because of low public transportation usage and high number of roadworks which has made the traffic situation even worse.
Saya daripada Kajang tadi nak mengala ke KL ni pun dah ambil masa 1 jam setengah. Hampir-hampir 2 jam. Sekarang bila musim cuti, bila cuti perayaan dah habis, jadi diorang akan ambil cuti macam cuti yang panjang kan. Diorang akan pergi bercuti. Lepas tu itulah faktor-faktornya kalau macam jalan raya jam. Kereta pun dah banyak dekat atas jalan raya ni kan.
Dalam suasana macam ini, sebenarnya nak kata rakyat 100% dia sudah rasa selamat tu mungkin belum lagi lah. Sebab mungkin ada sesengahnya masih lagi berhati-hati.
Meanwhile, Kuala Lumpur Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department, JSPT Chief Assistant Commissioner Sarifuddin Muhammad Saleh, believe that the traffic situation could improve if the people use public transportation more effectively.
Now, the number of road users is increasing as days goes by, and the number of cars sold, which can be the indicator how many people are now using the private transport to commute in the daily routines to Kuala Lumpur. So, one of the approach for traffic unit to address in this rising situation is to use another department in our police force, our RMP Wing unit, to monitor traffic patterns on a regular basis, which will cover a broad region. Whereas for the city, we will use a drone to monitor and discover which routes are congested and need immediate attention.
He also urged the people to fully utilize navigation applications such as Waze and Google Maps to avoid traffic jams and plan their trips more efficiently. In the meantime, the government has also undertaken several measures to address the traffic woes, including to build 3 new highways in the Klang Valley as well as banning heavy vehicles on main roads in Kuala Lumpur during peak hours. Alif Yunus, TV3.
In Perak, the suspect who chopped his mother into 15 pieces and threw the body parts into a sewage tank at a house in Taman Kerian, Parit Bunta on Saturday is believed to be suffering from mental problems. Perak Police Chief Datuk Mior Farida Latrash Wahid said a foul stench led police to the discovery. He said a police team had rushed to the 68-year-old victim's home to conduct an investigation after receiving complaints from the neighbours of an unusually foul odour.
Semalam kita dapat panggilan daripada jiran mengatakan bau busuk di rumah, bau busuk yang luar biasa lah. So, menyebabkan pihak polis sekali lagi bergegas ke tempat kejadian, dan bila kita pergi ke belakang rumah tu, kita tengok ada papan plywood digunakan untuk menutup saluran lubang najis. So kita jumpa body dalam tu lah.
Speaking to the media at the Kinta District Malaysia Sports League program at X-Park Sunway City in Ipoh, he added that police had previously received a report from the victim's daughter about the mother's disappearance a few days prior, after the suspect had told her that the senior citizen had left the house and never came back. The case was now considered solved following the arrest of the 42-year-old suspect who was remanded on Sunday, and it will instead be investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. It is understood that the victim had lived with the suspect for the past 12 years after her husband had died. Initial investigations found that the suspect is believed to have killed and mutilated his mother's body due to dissatisfaction over the division of his late father's estate. The police also confiscated a machete, 2 knives and items believed to be used in the alleged murder. Police believe that jealousy could be among the motives for the fatal shooting of a pregnant woman whose body was found in a car by the roadside in Kampung Repek, Pasir Mas, Kelantan on Saturday. Kelantan Acting Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Zaki Harun said a thorough investigation would be conducted to ascertain the real motive for the killing amid the speculations. Datuk Muhammad Zaki said shortly after the victim's body was discovered, police nabbed a 40-year-old suspect who is a labourer and who is known to the victim. The suspect will be remanded for 5 days from Sunday for investigation. Police were investigating the possibility of the victim being fatally shot elsewhere before being found by the roadside, as her house was 15 kilometres away from where the car was found. Earlier on Saturday, the body of 26-year-old Emirah Mazlan, a mother of 3 children aged between 3 to 10, who was also 7 months pregnant, was found shot to death. The car, which was registered under the victim's name, had been abandoned by the roadside since Friday evening. The case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. A couple has been remanded to assist in a bribery probe into claims that they received money totaling more than 600,000 ringgit for the appointment of a transportation company for a government-linked company. The husband and wife, who are in their 50s and 40s respectively, were arrested at their home in Petaling Jaya at about 7 p.m. on Saturday. The couple were brought before Magistrate Shawira Abdul Halim on Sunday, who allowed for the suspects to be remanded for 6 days until June 10th. According to an MACC source, it is learnt that the man, a senior executive in a government-linked company, had demanded for monthly payment of about 20,000 ringgit for appointing a transport company to distribute a petroleum-based product nationwide for the period of July 2019 until April this year. His wife, meanwhile, is believed to have colluded with him in committing the offence and was also believed to have control over the debit card of the said transport company. It is learnt that the senior executive had been suspended from his duties at the company. An annual long-distance dhow sailing competition has kicked off on the island of Surabaya, which lies 65 kilometres off the coast of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. The 60th edition of the Al Ghafal race for traditional dhow ships is meant to honour the lost tradition of pearl diving. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching and have a great week ahead.